What if you discovered how medieval women masturbated in secret? Imagine stepping through the heavy wooden doors of a 14th century monastery. Dim light filters through stained glass, falling across the cold stone floor where nuns whisper their prayers. Everything seems silent, pure, untouched. And yet, beneath that surface lie stories few have ever heard. Medieval women lived between two worlds, one of faith, rules, and strict control, and another, hidden world, where they tried to understand their own bodies, their desires, and even their joy. There were no guidebooks, no open communities, only secret codes stitched into embroidery, herbal formulas passed quietly in the marketplace, or confessions whispered under cover of night. In this journey, we'll step into 3 windows of that world, behind monastery walls, into the busy markets, and inside daily life itself. Each reveals how women found ways to rise above silence and shame, and what timeless lessons we might carry with us today. So, are you ready to take this journey back in time? 1. Behind the cloister walls. Faith, desire, and hidden codes. Picture this. You're a 16-year-old girl in the 1300s, sent by your family to live in a convent. What fills your ears each morning? The echo of church bells, the low hum of prayers inside stone walls, the soft footsteps of sisters moving through narrow halls. To the outside world, this place is holy, silent, pure, devoted to God alone. But for the women who lived here, life was rarely that simple. Hidden inside little notebooks tucked beneath their robes, nuns wrote more than sermons or herbal recipes. They poured out secret poems, metaphors of love, and longings they dared not say aloud. A famous example comes from the Book of Margery Kempe. Margery wasn't a nun, but in her writings, she admitted to both deep spiritual passion and very human desire. Her honesty shows us something important. The line between faith and longing was never as clear as the church wanted it to be. Sometimes these feelings weren't written in words at all. They showed up as small, clever symbols, embroidered into cloth or drawn in the margins of prayer books. A flower blooming too wide, a red pomegranate split open, a key resting beside an unlocked lock. These weren't random designs. They were a secret code, women's way of quietly talking about curiosity, desire, and connection in a world that forbade such conversations. But make no mistake, it was risky. If a notebook was discovered, it could mean accusations of heresy. And back then, heresy wasn't just a word, it was a death sentence. Women could be exiled, locked away, or even burned. That's why these tiny codes matter so much. Each one was an act of courage. Each one said, I am still human. I still feel. I still exist. Looking back, it's tempting to imagine these women only as victims, forced to give up their lives, their choices, their voices. But the truth is more layered. Many of them found ways to keep a piece of themselves alive. They turned prayer into something personal, a way to feel connected. They wrote journals not just for God, but as a conversation with their own hearts. They embroidered secrets into their clothes, and in doing so, they kept their inner world alive. There's a lesson here for us. Today, we don't live inside stone convent walls, but we still face invisible cages, society's expectations, the pressure to perform, the constant judgment of others. We too can feel trapped. Yet if a nun in the Middle Ages could stitch her hope into a hidden flower on her robe, maybe we can also find small, quiet ways to keep our true selves safe. That's why these stories matter. They remind us that freedom doesn't always come in big, dramatic gestures. Sometimes it's in the little things, writing down your thoughts, sharing a hidden smile, choosing to hold on to a piece of joy no one can take away. And so, we leave the convent walls behind. Out in the world beyond, in the crowded markets and busy alleyways, women built another kind of community. Some of it was open, some of it hidden. They traded herbs, shared remedies, and passed along knowledge that kept each other strong. That's the next chapter of this journey, and it may surprise you, too. Medicine, markets, and the women's secret network. Now imagine stepping outside the heavy convent walls into the early morning square of a medieval town. No more echoing bells or strict silence. Here you hear the loud calls of merchants, the crackle of roasting meat, and the earthy scent of dried herbs and pine resin drifting through the air. This is the marketplace, and for women, it was more than a place to buy and sell food. It was where they traded knowledge, comfort, and quiet wisdom. Look closely at the baskets, not just carrots and onions, but bundles of sage, lavender blossoms, and the twisted roots of mandrake. To most buyers, these were spices or simple remedies for fevers. But in the hands of wise women, the older healers who carried generations of knowledge, these plants became something more. Fennel seeds and anise helped ease the discomfort of monthly cycles. A small flask of wine infused with valerian flowers could calm nerves and soften restless nights. Much of this wisdom came from far and wide. Some recipes traveled west through old medical texts. Others came from local traditions passed down in whispers. But whatever the source, the market stalls became classrooms in disguise. And though society tried to keep women away from official medicine, they created their own secret network. How did they do it? Through small signs and subtle exchanges. An embroidered scarf might hide a symbol for a useful herb. A story told while selling bread could carry a lesson about healing. Women shared what they knew quietly, carefully, always aware of the risks. Because danger was never far away. The same mandrake root that could heal a woman's pain might also be seen by a judge as evidence of witchcraft. Many women paid dearly for the knowledge they carried. The lesson here is simple. Power always comes with risk. And for survival, women had to protect each other through trust and hidden bonds. If you think about it, the same pattern exists today. Women's groups, online communities, or small circles of friends, they all serve the same purpose: sharing wisdom, lifting each other up, and keeping traditions of care alive. So, as we leave the busy market behind, let's follow one woman home. Past the smoke-darkened kitchen, into the little garden where herbs grow quietly. Here, in the rhythm of daily life, shame begins to give way to pride. Pride in knowing, pride in caring, pride in her own body. And that is where our journey continues. 3. From shame to empowerment, lessons that still matter. Today. Now, let's leave behind the monastery walls and the noisy market. Picture instead a small peasant home. Sunlight filters through wooden shutters. Children's laughter drifts in from outside. And at the table, a mother quietly shows her daughter which herbs soothe the stomachache and why rest matters after a long day in the fields. Unlike noble women, who were bound by silence and strict social rules, peasant women often knew their bodies in a more direct way. They learned through daily labor, childbirth, and the simple act of survival. Life was not easy, but it gave them a kind of wisdom that books and etiquette never could. Still, judgment was always close. A woman who spoke too freely about her body or about her desires could be called impure, or worse. Yet from that unfairness grew something powerful. Women created quiet circles of support. They gathered in kitchens, in gardens, in small corners of community life. And in those circles, honesty was allowed. Shame slowly gave way to strength. Here's the lesson. Shame doesn't come from the body itself. It comes from the rules and fears society lays upon it. When we accept that health, comfort, and even joy are natural, we take a real step toward confidence. Looking back, the voices of medieval women are not just whispers of the past. They are reflections for us today. They remind us that even when the world tries to silence us, courage and connection can open the door to freedom. We've walked through cloister walls, where faith and hidden desire lived side by side. We've stepped into the bustling marketplace, where women traded not only goods, but knowledge, trust, and quiet courage. And we've sat inside the humble home of a peasant family, where resilience was passed down in whispers, in herbs, in the wisdom of survival. Across these three worlds, one truth shines through. Medieval women were never only silent, never only oppressed. They found ways, through symbols, through networks, through everyday life, to claim a piece of freedom. And maybe that's the part that still matters most today. Because whether we are inside rules that feel too heavy, or facing judgments that don't belong to us, their stories remind us courage can grow even in the smallest spaces. Connection can break walls that shame tries to build. So as you close this chapter with me, I invite you to carry one thought forward. The past is not gone. It leaves us gifts, reminders of strength, of creativity, of dignity. Gifts we can choose to hold on to and to pass on. Thank you for sharing this journey.